So you're feeling in this emotion of, should I continue to deal with this person or should I not? And this emotion is bringing you to also second guess self. You're starting to question what you're doing and how you're doing it, your approach to this situation, as well as how you influence the situation in whatever way. That's what I'm getting. It's like, first of all, the reason why you're questioning it is because something is not feeling right. So let's just start there. Because anytime you start to question someone's place in your life, clearly they're doing something that's making you feel uncomfortable, and it's making you question it, either their intentions or even your own intentions. You could be asking yourself, why am I continuing to deal with this? Or why do I want this person in my life in the first place? Because there's something that they're doing or not doing, or both. Say, for instance, you want to have a conversation with this person and they're not communicating with you. That could be very tumultuous. If you know that you're someone who is easy to talk to and you have a person that's not trying to communicate with you, then you know it's not you. But it's like this feeling where you keep on wondering if there's anything more for you to do. You're putting it on yourself. You're taking accountability, like 100% accountability, which I think is a good practice, but you also have to be able to discern if the full accountability is actually yours, because then if you keep on approaching things in that way without staying there for a second to analyze the situation, then you'll begin to have a lot of self-doubt in many relationships. I feel like that way of thinking, if you're not getting any type of communication from the other person, will lead you to believe that there's more wrong with your approach than what actually might be, even though you could be doing something that could be causing this issue. Like, say, for instance, if something inside of you is not healed, then you can continue to draw in certain energies that aren't the best for you. And if that's the case, then you can look at yourself and you can take accountability and know, if I practiced more self-love and self-reflection, then I would have recognized that this person has traits within them that I should recognize as toxic, because it is very likely that you have gone through this phase already before. It feels like something that has happened before, and not with the same person. It feels like it could be someone new this time. But every time it happens, it just really puzzles you, because you feel like it's like you feel like, I'm such a good person, I don't mean any harm. I'm hearing multiple things. Hold on. It's like you could be the best person. You could be good at heart. You could be pure at heart. But if you continue to allow individuals to behave a certain way around you and not make any changes, like removing yourself from their energy, or at least speaking on what you disagree with, then you will forever feel a sense of inferiority, in a way of like emotional inferiority. Because regardless of the dynamic, in any relationship, I feel like anyone in the relationship should always be able to vocalize their perspective without feeling like they're going to become a target or something. Because that's how I feel. You're starting to feel like a target. It's almost like Spirit is saying you need to train yourself to look at everything that's happening internally as well as externally, as well as looking at the person for how they make you feel. And this could be challenging in the beginning when you're really not aware of certain aspects of personality traits. I just heard that's something you should study, personality traits. and personality disorders. You could look that up, and then not to, call you a doctor, or I don't want you to really diagnose anyone, but it could just give you an understanding of why certain people act certain ways and what it could be linked to. Just doing research on topics that interest you, even though you might not know they interest you. But if you continuously deal with the same type of individual in different vessels, then that means that there's something inside of you that is broken, and it needs to be fixed, because you're attracting that energy. And when you're healed from a certain pain point within you, when you're healed from it, even if a toxic energy comes towards you, you'll be able to put a guard up, and you'll recognize the red flags, and you will stop them before they get too close. And this is what Spirit wants you to learn to do, because the consistency of you getting into relationships or even friendships, excuse me, any type of relationship it is, it's starting to really get to you, and I just feel like you're exhausted with this situation. So the best thing you can do is educate yourself. Okay, this person does this, this, and that. Put a list of what they do, and it can help you to start to recognize why you're feeling that way. Because sometimes when you're in those types of situations where you're feeling targeted and you can't really pinpoint what's happening to you, you just know you don't feel right. Pinpoint why you don't feel right. What did they say to you that made you not feel right? What happened? Did you feel acknowledged? Did they leave without saying bye to you? Like, did they just leave? Like, say you're in a relationship and someone just leaves, but they don't acknowledge you before they leave. That could be something that you feel is important in a relationship. And I feel like that's a form of respect too. Like, because if you just leaving and coming in with no communication, I think it starts to thicken the air. I just heard it starts to thicken the air, and it could cause drama that's unnecessary. And I feel like it's also a respect thing too. Like, imagine you're in a relationship with someone and they always leave out and don't even like acknowledge you and say, okay, I'll be back or anything. With that, is that something that you've experienced that you don't like and it bothers you? The first thing you need to do is identify what bothers you, and then get to the root of why. Why does it bother you? And this practice is something that you can begin to do research on, because you'll begin to know yourself. You'll begin to understand the feelings that you have within, because that is where everyone needs to be. The understanding of one's feelings. And the more you understand your feelings, the greater you will become emotionally, physically, mentally. And you also build your confidence, because you'll have, when you have awareness and understanding, it's a confidence builder. Just because you know, when you don't know, you're confused, you're lost, and everything is a question mark. But knowledge brings clarity, and Spirit is saying this is what you guys need. Take some time out for yourself to do research on certain aspects of your own feelings, as well as the actions or reactions that this individual or these individuals have towards you, so that you can identify what is bothering you. You have to identify it. What else? Do you often go out your way to make this person feel comfortable? Okay, say for instance, your person is sick, and when they're sick, you take care of them. You rub their back. You make them some soup. You just do the good stuff that a loving partner would do. But then when you're sick, you have to take care of yourself. You have to cook your own dinner, and it's like, damn, I'm just by myself, and I did all that for them, but they didn't do it for me. I would like that too. So is that something that you've experienced and that bothers you? These are the things that you want to look at. And sometimes with certain individuals, I don't even know if this is the right thing to say, but I'm going to say it. The things that you think about doing for your person, they might not think about, because their makeup is not like yours. They're not made up emotionally as you are. Their makeup is not like yours. So if you're a nurturer, yes, you're going to nurture because that is who you are. But if you're with someone who is more in a state of being more so like a masculine energy, it's just one of those things where I feel like both feminine and masculine energy, they must both learn how to navigate both aspects of themselves, which is the masculine and feminine energy, so that the masculine energy would know, they were there for me. I need to be able to be there for them as much as I can. Because, okay, if the masculine is, out and about, being the provider, then that's understandable if they're not there. But there's other things that they can do to accommodate you if they can't be there with you. And it's just like the little things. You see, okay, they can't make you some soup, but they could order some for you or something. You see, it's like just these little things. These little things, because when you're sick, you don't feel well. You don't feel like doing all that. Because, well, sometimes people do, depending on, how much energy you have. But it's just an example. So we really want you to pay attention to your feelings and begin to do research on those emotions that you feel, and begin to understand oneself. The more you understand yourself, the better you will become. You will grow beautifully. So the goal here is for you to get to know you. Okay? Get to know about those emotions that you have and begin to understand what are the things that you really have a disliking to, because it could help you be able to navigate your life, say no to individuals that need to hear no, as well as you can be able to speak to what the problem is, because a lot of times you'll be so emotional that you can't even pinpoint what's wrong. You don't even know how to speak to it. So if you want to communicate with the whatever the problem is, it's hard for you to, because you can't really articulate yourself enough to say, look, I don't like when you did that because it made me feel this way. Now, I kind of simplified it, but if you could do that in the best way you can, last week I didn't say anything because I know you were busy, but now that we have some time, you did this and that really made me feel some type of way. So I'm just trying to understand, like, why did you do that? Because I ended up feeling like insignificant in your dealings or within your life, because you chose that instead of me in a time when you had the time to choose me, but you chose something else. This is just a very simple example. I'm not giving anything specific. It's just generalized, because I'm just trying to give you an example. And if the person is not even willing to go there with you, then you already know the relationship has ended. Like, if you can't even get through that, it's like, all right, So many times you fault yourself if the person doesn't want to speak. You can never fault yourself for someone else's choices. You can only take accountability for your own choices. And if you know that you're coming from a place of purity because you want the relationship to work and you're doing your best to make sure that it does, but the person is not meeting you halfway, then you already know what you have to do. You have to begin to take the steps to let them know, like, it's either we're gonna do it or we're not. And, you let it be what it is and move on with your life, because it's not worth the wait. many times, many of you wait around for someone who never really meant or never really had intentions on loving you. They just had intentions on other intentions other than loving you. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes there's people that you meet and you get in relationships with and they don't know love, and you don't really know that they don't know love because they came off in the beginning as if they understood and as if they know love. But the more that you were with this person and around this person, you recognize how that must not be true because they're not exemplifying love. And they don't do things for me that I do for them. You could show love all day, but there's sometimes some people will take everything you give. Oh, they will take it. They will take it all. And they will have the biggest ear-to-ear smile, all right? But they don't have any intentions on giving back to you. And this is what you must recognize and see before, instead of trying to make excuses for a person, okay? Because why wait? Why wait for someone who isn't worth waiting for? It's like they haven't even shown you the qualities that you actually desire. But then many of us have this desire to be in love, and then, take a bunch of mess from people that don't mean well and never really did, but you just didn't notice it. You didn't notice it because you're such a loving person that you just kind of like put your blinders on and you keep like, I love you, I want to see you, I want to talk to you, come on. And then they're like just like cold because they don't have any love to give. Their heart is frozen, and your heart is just like on fire with passion, and their heart is frozen. Oil and water does not mix. So Spirit just wants you to recognize sooner rather than later when you're with someone who you do not mix with. Because I just heard 9 times out of 10, this is the reason why so many of you are feeling sad and brokenhearted. Because you're holding on to a love that never was. Holding on to a love that never was diminishes your character, I just heard. Because you have to use the intelligence that you have. You guys are intelligent. You have a mind. You're a human being. The Creator made us very intelligent. It's just that I just heard many ignore their intelligence in hopes that what they believe is not true. Because you could believe that this person doesn't have any time in the day for you, but then you could trick yourself into believing that that's not true and it's something else, and that they really do want you and they really do want to be with you. And most of these people that make others feel this way, they don't want anybody. They just want to do whatever, not caring about anybody but themselves, never having any room to care about anybody but themselves. So don't allow people like this to have you second guessing yourself, unsure of who you are and where you stand. When you're in these types of situations, the best thing you can do is study self and study that person to understand what it is that you're dealing with. Because if you just ignore the signs and try to stay in a relationship that's not working, it's like slowly torturing oneself when you don't have to. Like, why not educate yourself so that you can learn, so you don't have to go through it again? The experience, if you don't like it, right, you don't want to go through it again. So the best thing you could do is learn on your own, learn from someone else, or mix it up and learn from others as well as learn on your own. And the more you educate yourself and learn from others, the less likely you'll end up in that type of situation again. And this is where we want you all to get to this point. Learning yourself so deeply that you know what it is that you want, and you could pinpoint when you're not receiving what it is that you need to make you feel like the best version of yourself, as well as make you feel like you have enough energy to give the way you want to give. Because trying to continue to give to someone who is not even acknowledging what you do and cannot get back to you, or doesn't want to get back to you, that will drain you and make you feel like it's like an emptiness. It will make you feel empty and confused, because you'll keep on questioning yourself. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? In those times, it's not, well, what you're doing wrong is staying with that person at that point. But when it comes to your energy, it's good to be loving. It's good to be nurturing. You just can't give that energy to anybody. You can't give that to everybody. You have to learn to set boundaries. And that's in romantic or not, just relationships in general. You must learn how to set boundaries, because if you don't, then people will use the purity of your soul and your heart and turn it, flip it, and use it against you. And they'll keep taking, and you'll have nothing left to give to yourself. So just remember that, because I feel like this is a message that I have given in the past, but it just fell on me to share again. I feel like this is kind of like a message that's interwoven in many messages, because it's just one of those messages where I feel is one of the biggest problems in society. Not taking a time out to analyze yourself and analyze people around you, to understand when somebody is not ready to love it or just doesn't know love. And you're not always the one to teach them. Even though you do, in a way, just because you know how to still give. But that doesn't mean they're willing to receive the lesson. And I think that's one of the most difficult aspects of truth for people who have healing energy. To know that you can give healing words and you can share your healing perspective, but it doesn't mean that everyone that listens will be able to receive it and apply it to their own life. Because many people, their ears are clogged, they're blocked, they can't receive because their heart is cold, their heart is stone. So in order for them to be able to accept what you're saying, their heart has to be lighter. They have to be willing to receive it. Okay, my loves, I hope this message gets to who needs to hear it. Everything you do, do it with love. Always remember the creator is in you and the magic is too, because you're magic. Much love to you. I'll see you in the next video. I've written a book. And this book is an eagle's perspective of my journey. However, in a very profound way, my journey is also your journey, because we go through the same steps to try to understand why we're here, what is our purpose, and where are we going, and what should we actually be connected to, what's real and what's not, what's true and what's false, right? So this book that I've written gives you a roadmap to get to the place where you have been created to be.